Yo, what's up everybody? It's Drewberry, and every now and then there is a card that jumps into Marvel Snap that generates so much hype, so much talk, that we gotta just stop and look at this card, break down the mechanics, and see if this is a token trap or a token snap. You like that one? How about that? Well, I'm going to tell you right now, snap on this card, because this is going to be a fun card. It's going to find a home in a lot of decks. I think it's worth 6,000 tokens, and that's saying a lot. I don't usually say that about cards. I just don't think this one's a trap from a fun perspective, okay? I think it's going to give you a lot of value in your entertainment of playing Marvel Snap. I don't know if it's going to be the most broken deck, most broken card that's going to get you to infinite. That's not the point. It's about having fun and building all kinds of fun decks. And I think High Evo achieves that. So in this video, I want to talk about the mechanics to make it a little bit more clear so you have an understanding of this card. And then we're going to break down the secret ability cards and give them a ranking on what I think is going to be the more popular of those 7. So we're going to get to that in a second. But first, High Evo is a 4-4. It's actually been changed. In the Dynamite version, it was a 4-7, which I went ahead and said is not a good stat line. I went ahead and corrected myself because that was absolutely wrong. 4-7 is a good stat line. 4-4 is not. But at the start of the game, unlock the potential of your cards with no abilities. That's why you want this card. That's where the value is at. So let's get into the mechanics of High Evolutionary. All right. Here's the mechanics of High Evo. So this has been confirmed by devs. I've seen a lot of questions pop up about this and a bit of speculation. But here we go. So High Evo does not give token cards secret abilities. So your rocks that are being put into your deck, your clones, whatever you're doing out there, no secret abilities for those cards. If they have no ability, they're going to have no ability. Why? Because at the start of the game, High Evo's ability triggers. So anything generated beyond that point does not get a secret ability. Now, what about Mr. Sinister and that clone, Mr. Sinister clone? Nope, no ability. He was generated after the fact. Okay, so that means that there is only 7 cards that High Evo can provide secret abilities to. Okay, secret ability cards cannot receive Patriot buffs. So the only other no ability synergy card in the game is Patriot, and the two don't actually work together, Patriot and High Evo. So he's not going to give Hulk or A-Bomb or any of those cards. They're not going to get Patriot buffs if they have a secret ability. It overlaps, it overwrites the no ability tag that's on the card with the new secret ability. And that also means that High Evo itself does not get Patriot buffs. So the easiest example of this is Thanos. So Thanos at the beginning of the game puts Infinity Stones into your deck. You cannot buff Thanos with Patriot. You cannot buff High Evolutionary with Patriot. It has an ability, even though it's been spended, it still has text on the card. It does not have the no ability tag. So some pros to High Evo. It gives life to some of those no ability cards. When's the last time you've seen A-Bomb run in an actually successful deck or anything like that? It's few and far between. I'm sure they're out there, but you don't see it too often. There's a lot of no ability cards that just don't get a lot of love because they're a bit expensive and don't have that good of a payoff. Well, now they got these secret abilities and some of them are absolutely busted. So it's going to be a lot of fun for those cards that maybe you got variants for or anything like that. You can actually start playing with them. A majority of the secret ability cards are immediately available to all players, with the exception of Wasp. Wasp is a Series 3, but everything else is Series 1. So you've got those cards. You're ready to make this deck when High Evo is released. Now, I don't think just putting all of the secret ability cards in a deck with High Evo is the way to go. I actually think there's going to be like, a separation or few separations to make a few different decks. But the idea is that a lot of the cards that you want with High Evo, you'll already have access to, which makes it really valuable for those people who are in Series 3. Maybe they're accumulating a lot of tokens and they want one of those big bads because it's never going to drop in price. Well, I think High Evo might end up being one of the more valuable cards. But there are some cons to this card, okay? So most secret abilities are countered by Luke Cage. A lot of them have negative power affliction. So Luke Cage just says no to that, and that might ruin your day. Like if there's a turn 2 Luke Cage and you can't do anything about it, that's going to be rough. If you're playing High Evo, I bet Enchantress is going to be pretty valuable, straight up, just to remove Luke Cage's ability, because then the negative power is still afflicted on that card. It'll show once again. So maybe that's a thing, but maybe you don't want to get High Evo. Start teching Luke Cage. I think it's going to be a prominent tech card to counter all of the High Evolutionaries that are going to be popping up next week. High Evo itself has very few synergies. Maybe Zabu, but like even then, like that's a bit of a stretch, right? It's a card that's already spent its ability that doesn't have a very good stat line. So it's a poor draw and it's a weak play. So I'm going to stand by that. You want to draw your secret ability cards. That's why you built this deck. It synergizes with the other cards that you put in this deck. Drawing a card that is just straight up a 4/4 and you got to play 4 energy for 4 power, it's not going to feel good. That's the last card you want to draw. You want to see High Evo at the start of the game and then wave goodbye and hope that he is at the bottom of your deck, because you do not want to see that dude for the rest of the game, okay? Unless you're drawing your entire deck. Trust me, I really feel like that's the case, but it's going to happen. You're going to draw him. It's going to feel a little bit bad, okay? Does that mean it's the worst stat line in the world? No, of course not. It's not the worst stat line in the world, not even by a long shot. You can play High Evo and it's 4 power and that's okay. What I mean is the opportunity of playing something else, drawing something else. The opportunity cost is there. And then the worst thing about this card is that it costs 6,000 tokens. That sucks. I wish all cards were borderline free for everybody, but 6,000 tokens is expensive. So you got to, spend cautiously, okay? Just because there's a lot of hype, just because I think this card is going to be really fun does not mean you should go out, drop $100 or whatever it is to get a bunch of tokens and pick up High Evo. But if you want to, do it because this card looks fun. All right, so let's rank the evolutions, the secret ability cards, okay? So number 7 is Cyclops. I feel so bad for doing this because, Cyclops is kind of notoriously one of the worst no ability cards right now. And now I feel like he's one of the worst secret ability cards. This guy cannot get job break. So Cyclops is a 3/4. And when you end a turn with unspent energy, afflict 2 random enemies here with -1 power. So the problem I have is there's a few, things happening here that are a bit clunky. I think the unspent energy is a bit awkward because you're playing Cyclops hopefully on turn 3. So no unspent energy there. Turn 4, turn 5, turn 6. That's 3 possible turns of afflicting random enemies with negative power. But the other condition that has to be met is that there has to be 2 random enemies on the other side. There doesn't have to be, but if you want max value, there has to be, so that you can dish out -2, -2, -2. It'd be -6, which kind of gives Cyclops like a 310 stat line in the best case scenario, but not even, because then you have unspent energy. So if you have 3 of those turns with unspent energy, it's basically like a 610, and that's not very good. So maybe that synergizes with other things like your Sunspot or a few of the other cards I'm going to get to. The potential is there. All these cards I'm not saying are bad. I just got to rank them somehow, and I feel like Cyclops is a little bit too clunky, okay? If there's only 1 random enemy on the other side, the way I interpret the text is that it's only going to dish out -1 power. It won't stack twice to the same enemy. So it's sad days for Cyclops. But then we got Misty Knight. So when you end a turn with unspent energy, give another friendly card +1 power. We gotta save this city. Giving out +1 power when there's unspent energy on the board. Well, let me tell you about that. I don't love it. I think it's a little bit of a weak payoff for unspent energy. It's kind of like Sunspot, right? Sunspot gets +1 power when there's unspent energy. Misty Knight gets +1 power for dishing out that unspent energy. But the problem being, 1, you have to have other cards on the field for this to even work. So if you play it on turn 1, on turn 2, you got to play a 1-drop, or else it's not gonna work. And then every other turn after that, you're just hoping that you have unspent energy to dish out that +1 power. What if, because it's random, the +1 power goes to a card that you don't even care about? Like, it's not a lane that you're trying to win. You've already given up on it. And now Misty Knight is using up your unspent energy to give out plus power to a place that you don't really care about. You could look at it like with 5 turns, right? If you play Misty Knight on 1 and 5 turns, this is a 1/7. But then again, not really, because of the unspent energy again. So then it's looking like a 6/7. That's not very good, but maybe there's buffs and synergies with the unspent energy and buffing other cards. I think it's a little bit too clunky, a little bit too weak. Could be thrown into the deck. I just don't know about the unspent energy package that we have here. I much prefer, passing on 5 and then dropping a Infinite or using She-Hulk with magic and all that stuff. Like, that seems a lot stronger than this package to me. Okay, then the last one is Hulk. So Hulk coming in at number 5, unfortunately, but Hulk is just a bigger, win more card in my eyes. 6/12, ongoing, +2 power for each turn you ended with unspent energy. So you're not, unspending energy on turn 6. I don't know if that's a word, but you don't know what I mean? You're going to play Hulk on 6. Okay, that's probably, let's just not talk about turn 7 limbo or anything like that. Turn 6, you play him. So that's not a turn when you can get +2. Let's say you had unspent energy on the last 5. Well, that's going to be 10 power. It's a 6/22. That's a lot of power, but that's just one lane. You're just throwing that in one lane, and that's your turn 6. You got to win another lane somehow with, like minimal energy spent throughout the game. So I just don't know. That just feels like a little bit too much of a win more card. Now, there could be a place where, I don't know, Mystique synergies, Onslaught, it's an ongoing card now. Maybe that somehow works. But again, I just feel like this package is a little bit weak, a little bit clunky. Okay, let's get to the rest of them. All right, coming in at number 4, we have Shocker. So Shocker is a 2/3 on reveal. Give the leftmost card in your hand -1 cost. Now, this is a one-time effect. So you're really only discounting something by 1, and then Shocker kind of looks like a 1/3 in the energy spent department. But you could hit a really vital card that opens up a crazy combo. I just can't dismiss anytime there is cost reduction in Marvel Snap. We've seen it time after time after time where it has worked out and been very, very powerful. And this even it does better than Quinjet. It doesn't have that minimum 1. So it could be a 1 drop and it goes to 0. So pretty much almost every time you're going to have value unless you hit a 0 cost card. So I think that's pretty good. And then it has on reveal synergies. Maybe you want to use it with Wong to really discount something, or you want to use it with Absorbing Man, or I don't know. I just feel like this could find a way. You can almost just Shocker and High Evo in a deck and just roll with it because you want a cost reduction on a certain specific card. Who knows? I'm sure it'll find a way. Then you got the Thing. On reveal, afflict a random enemy card here with -1 power. Repeat this twice more. So this is different in my eyes to how Cyclops works. So Cyclops, needs 2 enemies to get the -2 power, whereas the Thing can stack repeatedly on 1 card. So if there's only 1 random enemy card facing the Thing, he's going to hit it 3 times, which pretty much means that this is always a guaranteed 4/9 in value, right? Because you're dishing out -3, you're playing the Thing for 6. That seems pretty good to me. I like that value. The counter being Luke Cage. That's a bummer. That might happen. But hey, you still played a 4/6. Not too bad. No flashbacks to what I said 4/7 was bad. But you know what I mean? Like, I feel like the value is here. Again, on reveal synergies, it's kind of close to Spider-Woman. Spider-Woman is a 5/8, I believe. Oh my gosh, I haven't been playing her in so long, but she gives out -4, right? As long as there is 4 cards opposing her, whereas the Thing just feels like an easier condition to meet and just guaranteed value. I like it a lot. Then you got Wasp, number 2. Wasp of all cards. On reveal, afflict 2 random enemy cards here with -1 power. So if you've been listening, then you probably think, well, hey, you said that's really bad with Cyclops. You're right, but Cyclops costs 3. Wasp is free. So you could just save Wasp on that turn 6, play whatever else you got to do on turn 6, but then you play Wasp, and at that point in time, there's probably 2 random enemy cards opposing you, right? So you're going to get that -2 power that she's going to dish out, and that's essentially a 0/3. Not to mention, this is on reveal, not to mention she works great with Lockjaw. So I could really see this in like a Lockjaw cycle, negative affliction of power deck, something along those lines. Seems really, really good to me. Wasp is just such a sleeper card. Even without this secret ability, she's great and she fits in so many decks. I feel like with this one, it's just it's a given. If you've got High Evo, you've got Wasp, you put them in the same deck with a few of these other synergistic cards. But I am leaving the best for last because this next one is what makes this entire deck archetype, what just makes High Evolutionary so good. It is without question in my mind that Abomination is the best evolved card. Okay, Abomination is a 5/9, costs 1 less for each enemy card in play that's afflicted with negative power. Now I'm going to get this right out of the way. Luke Cage shuts this down. This card almost has no value if Luke Cage is on the field. But maybe, you know, like when I'm playing a Luke Cage deck, I like to wait till the final turn to play Luke Cage to kind of give that surprise amount of power burst, you know, on the field, right? Well, you can't really do that with this, because if it's turn 5 and you haven't played Luke Cage yet, you're waiting for turn 6, well, I can play A-Bomb for that discount. I've afflicted your cards with negative power. It doesn't matter if you remove that negative power. I'm going to play it at the discounted cost. And all I need is 5 cards on your side of the field with negative affliction. It doesn't even need to be a total of -5 or anything like that. It just needs to be 5 cards on the field with negative power. Enemy cards, that is, enemy cards. But like, think about it. If they have 5 cards on the field, and like you could do that with debris, etc., and all you have to do is play Hazmat, you just got to play Hazmat before turn 6, and then bam, you got a 0/9 on your hands, and then you play Moon Girl, and then you have 2 0/9s for that final turn. Holy smokes, dude. You can achieve all of that prior to turn 5. You can pass on turn 5, play Infinite and 2 Abominations. Like, there's just some crazy levels of power here that you can just dish out. I think this is absolutely insane. I'm actually surprised it doesn't have the minimum of 1 text added to it, because we've seen that so many times. But I am amped for Abomination. I am excited for High Evolutionary, dude. Let me know if you guys are picking up this card, what you think about it. I'm pretty excited. I'm really excited about the negative power package. I feel like that's what's really going to come together here and maybe become a pretty strong meta deck. We're going to find out a few short days. So that's going to do it for me, everybody. Thank you so much for watching, and we'll catch you guys next time.